What's up, anime fans? This is Raphael from C Manga, and I'm here to give you a review for the Akame ga Kill anime finale. Today's episode 24, Akame ga Kill. Now, if you guys check the channel, you know that I made a review for the Akame ga Kill manga, and obviously I had my reasons in there for that because of the way the anime was going. So I felt like I had to do a review for the series finale to show my opinions of what I felt of the series as a whole and comparing it to the manga. Now I feel like I think it was since episode 18 the series has kind of had a bit of a rough and tumble with it taking its own sort of take on the story, making a different adaptation towards the kind of cool story that's in the manga. And yeah, I have to admit I don't agree with the way things would go. Certain things felt rushed, like people's deaths. Some things were a bit unnecessary. It just felt like a lot of it was forced. But I still somewhat enjoyed the series, and today's episode was one of the reasons that shows why this anime was good. The animation, the fighting, the general dialogue that you can get in here was quite decent. It's not the best, I know I've seen better, but I feel like this episode kind of wrapped up the series in a good way personally, after all the I'd say less appealing episodes that we've had in the past. Now from the get-go the fight was brilliant. I mean, we had Estef in the beginning, and she had this kind of indifference towards Tatsumi's death, saying the same thing she's always believed. Tatsumi's weak, that's why he died, there's no helping it. But she seems a bit conflicted, like it struck a nerve, his death, where she said this weak country will perish. And we see revolutionary soldiers trying to attack her, and she's killed like hundreds or something like of them with her eyes, creating a barrier arena. So you can tell Tatsumi's death actually did affect her, despite her twisted philosophy of only the strengths matter and only the strong will survive. And so it was kind of interesting seeing that from her perspective, because I feel like her words were conflicting with what she actually feels. The initial fight for Akame versus Estef was brilliant. Estef was overpowered as usual, utilizing as much ice as she can in various different ways. And despite the obvious disadvantage from Akame, she still managed to hold her own. And I was particularly impressed with scenes and moments like when she cut off one of her gauntlets to protect herself from Estef, freezing her completely, using that as a distraction as well to follow up with a sky attack and try slash Estef down the back. But unfortunately Estef's perception and animal instincts made her block it with an ice sword. And I have to say the dialogue in this battle was, I'd say, a bit cheesy, a bit cliche and stereotypical. Akame's heroic stand-in for justice against Esther's psychotic philosophy. Her philosophy is quite interesting though, because it's like, as I said before, only strength matters and only the strong will survive. And it's funny that she actually can't comprehend and understand why Akame, someone as strong as her, will stand for the weak. She doesn't see the weak as anything. They're literally just ants to be trampled on. And I kind of enjoyed that, how they're contrasting I'd say what they stand for and what they fight for is so contrasting, and the way it's clashing in this fight was very apparent. So at this point Akame was literally under the heel of Estef. She was losing, and she was going to most likely die if she didn't take a drastic action. And we see this in the second part of the fight, where Akame uses her trump card, in which she cuts herself with Murasame and gains like a hollow like appearance, like from Bleach, or the ghouls from Tokyo Ghoul, with her eyes going black and the sclera going black and her irises going red, with the actual markings from the curse of Murasame in her actual nearer irises. So and we also see markings on her body as well, and her voice distorts, and it gives her a crap load more power and speed. And she states that Murasame remembers all the people that Akame has killed, along with their feelings, which she'll take responsibility for. So I can only assume that Murasame most likely gives her the power of or strength or abilities, whatever. You might as well say the strength of all the people she's killed, but it comes at somewhat of a cost. As we see later in the fight, it does somewhat hurt her. And Estes, her typical characteristics for lust of strength is very apparent in this. She's like, oh, this is your trump card. I'm looking forward to this duel. But when the duel starts now, she is very easily overwhelmed by Akame's new strength and speed. She's literally, might also say mimicking Ichigo. And this battle actually reminded me of when Ichigo first used his Bankai, and was just Shunpoing around and was too fast for Byakuya to actually catch with his Shikai. And I actually have to admit, the entire fight seemed a bit orchestrated in that way as well, with Akame fighting a normal state and then having to use power to finally overwhelm Estef. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. As I said, the battle was brilliant. The speed and I'd say the power from both of them was really great. And we actually see Akame manage to cripple Estef when she pierces her blade through one of Estef's eyes that was blocking it, and she managed to pierce her arm, which Estef actually promptly cut off. I actually laughed how she didn't waste any time cutting it off to prevent the curse, and I had to actually laugh when they start fighting again, and Estef uses the blood from her severed arm to flick it in Akame's eyes. So you can tell this woman, Estef, is a born and bred warrior. Even when she's crippled like that, she still manages to fight back. And reaching the final standoff now, we have both of them down to their last attack. Akame is losing time with her transformation. Estef is clearly weakened by the loss of her arm, and with no time left now, Akame puts all her efforts into a final attack and strikes towards Estef, forcing Estef to use her trump card Maka Hodama. And thinking she's won, she's like, yep, you're a great warrior, I'm going to kill you now. She stabs the frozen Akame, who actually was only an after image, and we have the real Akame attacking from above with a deadly slash down Estef's torso, and that pretty much done it. And apparently Akame was leading her on all this time to use her Maka Dama, saying that was probably the best chance and opportunity to kill Estef. So Estef kind of has a little dialogue about she still doesn't understand cherishing or valuing the weak, and what her final moments was a bit selfish afterwards. I don't think she deserved the right to die next to Tatsumi. I mean, going up to him, hugging him, and then turning both of their ice bodies into ice and shattering was a bit selfish, but that's her personality. She thinks Tatsumi belongs to her, and I'm just like, yeah, okay then. So we see actually Leone has a bit of a scene in this episode, and she goes after the Prime Minister, Honest. And I have to say, I was unsatisfied with this part. Definitely thought she was going to survive, but she got killed off by Honest when he used his Teigu, which was actually an interesting ability as it completely destroyed her Teigu. So but his ring destroyed at the same time, and then he shot her and everything. So I was a bit disappointed by that, but I definitely enjoyed when she punched him and saying, I'm strong, I've been raised in the rough ghettos, stuff like that, and my body's strong enough to handle things like that. And she completely smashed his head apart on the floor. There was only like the jaw left, and I was like, wow, god damn. And the touching goodbye with Akame was, it was reasonable. It wasn't nothing special, but it was like kind of nice that they got to have a goodbye before she died. And then we see her visiting, some drinking buddies before going to die off in the alleyway. So I was like, okay then, yeah, that's not very heroic death, but whatever, innit? So Emperor Makota, or is it Makota, whatever his name is, was a bit surprised to see him being sentenced to death. I know, obviously, this is Akame ga Kill, so that's not really surprising considering the nature of the series, but it's like, in my mind, he's still a kid despite being the emperor. So to see him being sentenced to the guillotine, I was like, damn. But I was impressed with his last moments, how he wanted to go out like a man. He said he's not gonna cry. I had to admire that. And he asked an agenda to basically create a better kingdom, not ruled by bloodshed. So another scene I did enjoy, what found depressing, was Tatsumi's village finally being funded enough money to feed everyone. And the feels got me right here when they were expecting Tatsumi Sayo and Ieyasu to come home, but they're not coming home, guys. They're gone, and it seems like they're never gonna know this. But it was a brilliant sacrifice on those three behalf. You know, their village is going to survive now thanks to them. So in some regards, it was good. And the final moment of the series, we had Najenda and Akame bidding each other farewell. Akame still has the markings on her body, and we even see that in the post credits as well. And she apparently said, to soothe the public opinion, she's going to accept the blame for all the crimes, you know, the Revolutionary Army and Night Raid did, so that Najenda can build a new kingdom with the little years she has left of her life, because of, you know, remember the Tegu to take quite a bit of her life force away. So it was, as I said, it was a good wrap up in a way. You know, Akame is going to carry on traveling, pursue whatever goal or dream she wants, and the agenda is going to build a new kingdom with the little years she has left of her life. And I say, yeah, it was good in that regard. We have a post-cut scene with Akame continuing the path of an assassin and being ambushed in the desert, saying she'll take on the will of, you know, all her fallen comrades. And yeah, I loved that. Loved the bit at the end where we had a massive, you might say, photography of the whole Night Raid crew at the end. So as I said, you can know it's just completely wrapped up. It was good. It was well done. As I said, it kind of made up for, as I said, the previous episodes, which were a bit of a letdown. So in regard, my verdict is the series started off well, had a bit of a downfall when it started to do its own different episodes. I mean, the fillers and the makeups of the stories, some deaths, as I said, felt forced. Some episodes transitioned in a weird way, where it was like some things happened and then it's like the next episode they were here, if you know what I mean. It just felt weird, certain things. And as I said, generally it felt rushed on some parts. I was a bit annoyed that when I went to go and read the manga, quite I'd say 10 to 15 chapters were cut out, involving, you know, the Wild Hunt crew. And as I said, certain people who aren't actually dead in the manga are dead in the anime. So things like that, changes like that, I actually want to know what the animation team were thinking changing it. But as I said, it's you know, in some regard I have to consider Akame ga Kill, the anime, is that thing. Akame ga Kill is the manga. So in a way it's just like I don't really care because the manga's still going on. So I'll read that end and see how that goes. The anime is done, that's it. So as I said, the verdict, it was good. It could have been better if it followed it a bit more faithfully, but as I said, the action, the comedy, all of that I did enjoy, and it definitely was a series I don't really regret watching, because now I've read it, I can pick up the manga, which I've done and caught up, and I'm gonna be reviewing that and reading that for the next how many years it's gonna last. So as I said, yeah, good anime. Could have been better, but you get what you've got given, and I can't wait to see what the manga's going to do with its storyline instead. So as I said, this has been a review for the final series, final episode of this series. I definitely enjoyed today's episode, and I'm looking forward, as I said before, to see what's going to happen in the rest of the manga series. So you guys know the usual. If you've got any opinions about this series, if you liked it or not, the episode today, if you liked it or not, leave them in the comment box below. If you're reading the manga, go over to the manga series video and talk about that with me. And yeah, that's about it, and I'll speak to you guys next time.